This is the College Football Connection Podcast with Alvin, Reid, Bradford, Bruns, and Marty Jenkins on 101 ESPN.
Bono's first half reps at least, but that is a mere appetizer for what we have ahead. It is a mammoth week one slate, and we can't wait to dive into the particulars with you here on the latest installment of the College Football Connection. Bradford, Bruns, Alvin, Reid back at the ranch here live in Creve Coeur. Alvin, week 0 in the books as expected. Gave us some exciting results. We're happy to say through collectively 11 picks, 6-5. We're over 500. Not a bad start, my friend.
Hey, I'm 3-3. Waiting on that Boise State and South Florida game. Let's see where we go from there. Oh man, a couple of really good games. But believe it or not, Hawaii pulled it out for me against Stanford because Stanford kind of gave it away at the end. But
that was a game.
Yeah,
it was a
game. And when I was driving over to Lawrence for the KU game on late Saturday morning and into Saturday afternoon, I pretty much listened to the entire Iowa State K-State game on the radio.
Love it.
And I was able to go back and forth between K-State's announcing team and Iowa State's announcing team, on Sirius Radio. And it was kind of a fun drive. They were saying that it was kind of murky and raining and then it's not raining, but you have to visualize all this in your head.
Oh, yeah.
So it was cool listening to the game. And, Chris Kleiman, come on, man. We going for it on fourth down and our own 38-yard line in a very hotly contested game, and you've had some success. And, And then Avery Johnson's people brawling in the streets with his name on the back of their shirts.
Donnybrook in Dublin.
We'll
recap some more of those festivities near the tail end of this episode. But if you thought that was something else, toggling back and forth, my friend, just imagine what the schedule, we know what the schedule is going to be like this coming weekend. Now, at the very top, we don't have really a lot in the way of formal picks for the local regional affairs, okay? When you're talking about, yes, Mizzou and Central Arkansas on Thursday evening, even Illinois, Western Illinois on Friday night, KU, your Jayhawks, and Wagner on Friday as well. You know that the lines are gargantuan as far as being lopsided. But the lead story as of late Tuesday morning, Pete Thamel, he seems to have more of the goodies than Sierra, because I don't know exactly how scoop after scoop is landed by that fine dignitary from ESPN.com, but people in-house, they're in mid-Missouri, maybe they're not completely aware. They weren't at that juncture, but Bo Pribula, when it comes time, 6:30 p.m., Memorial Stadium, the vaunted Bears arrive at Faurot Field. It's going to be a timeshare of sorts, yes, but maybe not in the way we had envisioned, because you're going to have Pribula from Penn State rolling out in half number 1 to be followed by Sam Horn in half number 2. And Alvin, we talked about it at great length last week on the CFC 101 ESPN YouTube channel and 101ESPN.com. We had speculated, how is it going to go down? Is this going to be a real competition, a fair one at that? And to me, at first glance, it seems eerily reminiscent of 2023 all over again.
Yeah, it could be. Now, look, Missouri has a big game the following Saturday. KU has a big game the following Saturday. I don't know what they're going to put out there on that field is going to look anything what they come back with 10 days, 9 days from now after those games.
There will be one guy.
Right.
As of last Saturday, that's what you learned from the head coach, Eli Drinkwitz. Yeah. There can only be one.
And there can only be one.
KU.
Right. So what plays you run, what you're kind of, looking at, I'm a little suspect. I don't think you're going to show too much, either team. That being said, I think Pribula has the advantage in that Horn might come into a game that's 42-6. What do you do?
Which is, for all intents and purposes, what he did 2 years ago against South Dakota. So how can you properly, that begs the question, evaluate both of these guys? We all understood. I think we had anticipated that Pribula, being the guy, that highly sought-after addition from the transfer portal, getting a little something, he would be getting the start. But how can you fairly judge both of these guys on merit when one in all likelihood is going to be running with the ones you should, in theory, be piling up a sizable edge and then coming out of the locker room at halftime, if it is already 28-3-ish, echoes of 2 years ago, what are you going to fundamentally learn from Sam Horn? Because that doesn't seem like a fair fight to me.
Oh, exactly. And I think they, not that Missouri would try to run up the score anyway, but what do you want to do? I mean, if you got a 4-touchdown lead, then you put this kid in the game. Okay, so they drive for one real touchdown. All right, he throws, he passes, and all that. Now you're going to keep passing in the second half and just, like, basically beat the hell out of this, outmanned opponent to get a good look at Horn. Yes, I think the advantage goes to the quarterback that starts that game. I think that they are hinting that that's going to be the starter on September the 6th.
Which, in a not-so-roundabout way, brings us back to the situation we encountered a couple of years ago. Maybe the competition, after so much pomp and circumstance, actually isn't that much of a competition overall.
I will say this, that I'm always a little skeptical about decisions like that, in that I said, that's why I was kind of steadfast on, oh, no, they'll have a starting quarterback. I'm not buying all this. We really don't know who's going to start in this game. I just couldn't buy that. I couldn't, because it makes your transfer judgment. It makes your what's been going on for the last 5 weeks out there at practice. It's kind of like, I'm not surprised that it's looking like Pribula is the man.
And I am all about playing it out on the field of competition, yes, but doing so when you're talking about a tangible opponent, not a score that in all likelihood is going to be so out of the way, lopsided, that you can't really glean anything from that. Keep in mind, 2 years ago, exact same situation, conceivably. He threw a grand total, Horn that is, of 5 passes following the second quarter. Will that come to pass again on Thursday evening in Como? We shall see. But Alvin, moving from the SEC there to elsewhere, if you will, in the SEC, but a humdinger of a season opener. I would love to be able to say we're going to have 6 grand picks for you guys here today on the College Football Connection, and it begins with that big noon kickoff on Saturday morning into the afternoon. Oh, the shoe is going to be rocking. Texas in town, and so desperately, Alvin, I want to say 1 versus 2 here, regardless of the rankings. All right, Penn State respectfully. Number 2. Oh, come on, Alvin. Are we really talking about, we are talking about chronicling the 2 prohibitive favorites to begin the 2025 campaign, I would venture to say, in college football. And this line has fluctuated a tad over the last couple of days prior to the recording. At present, Ohio State, defending national champion, as it should be, coming in as a 1.5-point favorite. That is marginal. Ohio State obviously ranked 3rd to Texas number 1 because people simply can't get enough of Arch Manning mania. It is here. He finally gets that preliminary start with the Texas Longhorns. So all the people who wanted to basically cast so much of that blame and cast aside one Quinn Ewers, here it is, baby. Yep. We're ready to go.
And I like it that it's 11 o'clock in the morning Central Time, just like the K-State and Ohio State game was. Started off with something that people want to see, that could really focus on. Now, granted, like I say, Texas and Ohio State, it was going to get a huge rating anyway, but it's so good. I mean, week 0 was done well with the games that they had to work with over the weekend. Yeah. I thought the NCAA did a pretty good job, and the schools that were participating last week. It's outstanding. I mean, this is outstanding.
Doesn't get any
week
better.
1. Right. Now, week 3, we might be looking at each other. Boy, that Wash U game's looking pretty good.
Let's head down to Lindenwood. What's up?
But now, very excited for it. Oh, man, I'll tell you what. 1.5, Ohio State's giving it. That's just because it's a home game. So you may as well call it a pick 'em. And so I basically am looking at Ohio State to take advantage of the fact that it's a home game. I think Arch Manning gets his. I think it'll be a little bit more difficult to score points in this game than people think. But I've got Ohio State covering. And on that 47-5, man, I think we're coming up under. I think it's going to be under. I do. Because I think you don't want to – I don't think you want to expose Arch Manning to a whole lot of, punishment the first week he's actually out there in a game like this. Now, I'm not saying that Ohio State will just be out there just – shredding the Texas offensive line, but I think both teams will be a bit conservative in play calling, especially in the first half.
Yeah,
so I think that's what will keep your score down. But yeah, I like Ohio State's chances only because it's at home. And I've got Ohio State covering, like I said, 1.5. If this game were in Austin, I think the line might be just maybe a half point, maybe instead of 1.5, 2.5 points in Texas's favor, and then I would probably take Texas. This is the swing in this is the fact that it's an Ohio State home game.
I still go back to the fact that apart from Michigan, Ohio State has not dropped a verdict there at the Horseshoe since back in 2021. I understand Texas is coming in here, and for the record, last season, when we were talking about favorites in the conference, I wasn't willing to elevate Texas to that grand realm that so many other people expected.
I never did have them right.
And in all fairness here as well, a lot lost from both of these teams, both sides of the football. I do take into account that factor, that number of 47.5 for the over-under. I still think there's upper-level talent and loads of it. On the defensive side, it's going to be a physical, athletically gifted showcase for so many individuals out there. But if you're telling me that it is, without question, a game well into the second half, into the fourth quarter, irrespective of the atmosphere, and a ridiculous one at that, I'm actually going to roll the dice here, pardon the expression, with Arch Manning ahead of the guy who was just installed, just anointed as the QB for Ohio State. With all due respect to Julian Sayin, we don't know a heck of a lot about this redshirt sophomore. He's now entrusted with running, mind you as well, a slightly different system. Now he has the best playmaker in the entire nation in Jeremiah Smith lined up to the outside. But you have to think that Sark and his troops defensively as well. I'm not going to say that they are going to be able to hold down Jeremiah Smith, but it's no longer Chip Kelly doing his thing at the controls for OSU. Brian Hartline, there's going to be an inevitable adjustment period. Here it is, week number 1, right away. And for the Ohio State defense as well, losing the long-term coordinator, Jim Knowles. He flies the coop. He heads to Happy Valley, actually. There will be some adjustments to be made, and this is such a ridiculously competitive setting and environment, and you have to think at the end of the fourth quarter, who's ultimately going to be out there, who's going to be able to sustain more of those drives. Ohio State had 14 of its players, 14, Alvin, selected, in April's draft. Texas wasn't that far behind with 12. One possession game, no question about it. I would rather, yes, prove it to me, of course, but I would rather ride with Arch in this instance. I will take the Longhorns, this very minor underdog, call it a one-point game. Maybe we'll have it boiled down to the waning seconds, a field goal one way or another, and I am under as well for that matter.
I'm telling you, and I'll tell you what, the quarterback for Ohio State's quarterback, this kid, he'll run the ball. My guess is at least 14 times. Now, some of those will be planned plays, some of those will be scramble plays, but I think the athleticism will be needed and it will be shown. I think when there is nothing, I think he makes something a couple of times, keeps some drives going, and I think that will help push Ohio State over the top.
Oh, it's going to be needed, all right, because you don't have Travion Henderson, that home run hitter anymore. You don't have Judkins.
No.
You have to see evidence from the influx of incoming 4-star, 5-star guys, but they haven't done it at this level.
They haven't
done it in this atmosphere. You're talking about a CFP semifinal rematch and the 5th meeting between these two schools since 2005. That is the lead, no doubt about it, but we have to move elsewhere in the SEC as well because simultaneously, Alvin, Neyland Stadium is not the setting here because instead you've got a neutral site contest pitting the Volunteers of Tennessee. What an offseason, to say the least, it was for Josh Heupel's program, going toe-to-toe, head-to-head with an intriguing at least, Syracuse team. 11 a.m. kickoff as well, albeit at Mercedes-Benz Stadium there, the ATL being the host site for this one. I'm intrigued for a lot of different reasons here because I still don't understand, I can't fathom, Alvin, a lot of the immense hype that still seems to be surrounding the Vols in spite of a few different factors. In spite of the fact that you lose Nico Iamaleava, say what you will about the second half struggles that he experienced during the 2024 SEC schedule. Beyond that, Dylan Sampson, I don't think enough people are talking about how you're going to replace that production in the backfield. And I'm just not sold on Joey Aguilar taking the reins of this offense. If anything, I am much more confident, I'm much more optimistic about the defense this year in Knoxville. That number seems a little high to me in Hotlanta. 13.5, it is wavered between 13.5 and 14. And if we know one thing about the Orange, no longer with Kyle McCord at quarterback, we understand that. He's seeing if he can do his thing, catching on somewhere in the NFL. Fran Brown can coach. He will have his team coached up as much as possible for this one. I'm telling you, Heupel, congratulations on having another year added to that extension, all that private university playing time. Good for you. Good on you. But you're going to be in for it. I'm telling you this Saturday, you're going to be in for a game.
Yeah, he's going to be in for a game, all right, paying attention to it in the second half when Tennessee's whooping that tail, man. I'm sorry. All right, Syracuse, let's go back to right at the tail end of the year. Syracuse, first of all, gives up way too many points. All right, had no business beating Miami in that game. Miami's defense was just worse than Syracuse was. I don't see that Syracuse is shored it up enough. I think they get ran over. I think they're almost – obviously, Knoxville, you got 100,000 people, there and rooting against you. So that would have obviously been tougher for Syracuse, but it ain't no better in the Dome down in Atlanta. Syracuse is not a big traveling football school. They fall into that North Carolina KU kind of action where, I don't want to call them a basketball school. We love it when the football team is great, especially me, but No. In fact, I see Tennessee covering 13.5. Yeah, win by 2 touchdowns. They'll win by 2 touchdowns. I also see us going on the over because Tennessee will give up enough points that I think they'll surpass 50.5 easily, man. Easily.
The Notre Dame product. Do you have a little bit of faith maybe in Steve Angeli moving the football against that defense at all?
I think big plays, basically, that if Tennessee will stop them, and I don't know that Syracuse can.
Fair enough.
That's basically it.
I genuinely thought that actually the LSU transfer, that Ricky Collins would have a shot to be the number one entering the campaign for Fran Brown's squad. Should have known, though. The Notre Dame mystique, Angeli. Hey, a highly regarded guy.
Right, and they named him the starter, 3 weeks ago?
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Maybe not 3 weeks ago, but I wasn't surprised to see that either. I said, that's kind of like, I don't think they brought this kid in here from Notre Dame, to not start. And the thing is that we don't know, man. They may have got there and they looking at him and say, like, man, he was all hype. He really wasn't all that good. But I really wasn't buying that. And Notre Dame, love them, hate them, whatever, played in the national championship game last year, which means that your 60 guys at the top were all pretty good, including the quarterback.
One play away.
So basically, I'm not surprised that he started for Syracuse, but I don't think they can handle Tennessee, especially not in game one.
I'm looking for a reason here. I'm looking for a multitude of reasons, and now I'm going to back down because you're talking about this instance of being an underdog of 13.5 points, okay? We get that. And by the same token, also, you can't take away from the evidence here. Syracuse, actually, the Cuse lost 37% of the offensive production from a year ago. It wasn't just McCord at quarterback, but rather a lot of different positions there. That actually is the worst figure among all ACC schools. So I also look at how it could be exposed, how it could be vulnerable defensively. But Tennessee, the difference to me here, the primary difference in looking at the over-under and actually going lower is that I don't think this is going to be anything remotely resembling a well-oiled offensive machine. You're going to see turnovers from both of these programs, and as a result, go under 50.5, but I am not taking one program or another outright.
Okay. Defensive scores count too, and that's another one of those craziness that, who's more likely to return a punt? Return an interception, strips out fumble near the goal line. Those are the things I think that push the score up. And we'll see some of that too. Not every point has to come from the offense.
We'll see if there's some funkiness with respect to that third phase of special teams, and we will see if this particular program, next up on the College Football Connection, has a little something more to get off of the mat and try to rebound from about as unenviable as a 2024 season could have gone. That would be Florida State. Alvin, grand total of 2 victories last season. 2 victories after being on the verge of playing for it all, CFP style, and yet This particular program seemingly could never get on track, still was holding on to that narrative, whether you believe that Florida State should have qualified, should not have qualified. It was a disaster from that first opening weekend in Ireland for FSU last year.
They should have won that game. That was where they were supposed to blow out Georgia Tech, but they had that game won like twice.
And then you were teetering.
And then you were teetering.
And it all went
down. Right. So I'm not saying that if they had won that game, the season would have not been disappointing, but maybe it wouldn't have been the disaster that it was. Does Florida State win 6 games, go to a bowl game? I don't know this year, but they've got a chance to redeem themselves, and redemption is such a thing. Now, I'm not going to talk no crazy talk like Florida State going to win this football game.
It is Bama. It's Bama week 1. You have it at Doak Campbell Stadium, but Kalen DeBoer, his troops, Kalen DeBoer himself needs a statement. I am adamant about that right out of the gate. And you see that number of 13.5. It's been toggling between 13.5 and 14 in favor of the Crimson Tide. I don't even know if that's going to be remotely close, because if Crimson Tide, if the faithful there, if Ty Simpson is able to really show more than at least I have perceived as far as early season production, I'm not saying he's going to make people forget, and I do believe that Jalen Milroe actually did receive a bad rap, kind of undeservedly, quite honestly, for stretches of last season. But the difference here is up front. When you're talking about both of the lines in the trenches, in Alabama still, last season, despite the struggles, despite the fact that you finished just 9-4, including that bowl defeat, there weren't many better units in that regard, and that is something on which DeBoer can hang his hat.
I agree, and I think that all of this, he's not the guy for the job and all that stuff, I don't believe that. They got a great coach. They better hang on to him. That's all I could say. But some way, somehow, I think Florida State covers. And this is kind of going to be like that fall into cover where you were down 22 points and score 8 late or something like that.
Backdoor late fourth quarter.
Yeah, I see something like that. I think Alabama will be in control of the game throughout the game. But for some reason, I just see Florida State covering. That's all. That's all I could give Florida State right now. It isn't like a Florida State, even after a disastrous season, is, back at the cornerstone of a program. They've got talent. They've got a decent coach, although he better get something done this year. He ain't gonna be the coach. But I think they cover. What I have no idea is what the score of this game is going to be.
I don't have a feel for that either.
I am
50.5. I'm staying away.
I am staying away from that, because here's the thing: Florida State might cover and lose 18-3 or something, or something crazy like that.
Who knows?
Where they play just enough defense, and Alabama doesn't score enough points and all that. Where Alabama, and the game's over, and Alabama had twice as many first downs, and had twice as many yards, and won the turnover battle 2-1, and everything will be indicative of a score that Alabama blew out Florida State, but it just doesn't happen.
Right.
I see that kind of game, but I don't see a score. So I say my Seminoles stand up at home, give Alabama a bit of a tussle. They do succumb, but they cover the 13.5.
Tussle in the first half for me. Thereafter, Alabama wins, physically sound in every sense of the word. 17-20 point victory in favor for me for the Crimson Tide. We shall see. We shall also see if Brian Kelly's particular habit of dropping season openers. Alvin, did you know 3 things actually in life, in this existence, are certain? That would be death, taxes, and Brian Kelly succumbing in season openers. He's done that 3 consecutive years there in Baton Rouge. This year, I would contend perhaps the biggest challenge to date as far as LSU during his tenure goes, because from one instance, one setting of Death Valley to another, LSU Tigers, Clemson Tigers. It is a top 10 matchup. And even though Clemson last season was able to qualify against all odds, really, for the CFP, Clemson also lost each and every one of its 3 games against SEC competition. LSU still has that albatross. And I wonder here, are you going to see anything resembling a more representative defensive effort in year number 2 under the former Missouri coordinator, Blake Baker. Now, I was disappointed overall, all told, with the output, with the performance of that unit last season, because I thought Baker would honestly go in there and immediately, given the talent, the sheer talent, the surplus of talent on campus, raise the ceiling of that unit, of that program. It didn't come to fruition. Now, some of that obviously had to do with the fact that the star linebacker, Harold Perkins Jr., did not have full health, anything close to it for the entirety of the season. Actually went down game number 3 or 4. You hope to be able to maximize his production this year, working now at the star position. The defensive line has been reconfigured, and it is more of a boom or bust system. LSU has to be able to make more plays on that side of the football. When I think about a unit that is orchestrated, that is overseen, that is facilitated and supervised by Blake Baker. Think about a couple of years ago at Mizzou when you talked about that death row defense. Eli Drinkwitz loved to talk about it, still does. That mentality was based on wreaking havoc and being aggressive. Whereas last year, Alvin, this team finished with single-digit interceptions, didn't even generate that many fumble recoveries. Are you going to have significant strides on that front? Because you look across the line of scrimmage, the other side, somebody who's been very susceptible to turning the ball over during his Clemson career, that's Cade Klubnik. What do you have, LSU, defensively for the would-be Heisman contender?
Well, you go back 2 years now, and because a couple other kids came out last year in the NFL, so that team, that Missouri defense 2 years ago had, 6, 7 NFL players on it. So there was a reason that they were able to shut people down and be that aggressive.
True.
So let's leap forward. Coach is supposed to do the same thing down at LSU, and you're correct. He did not do that with all of that talent. I don't know what the connection is between head coach, the coordinators, all that, technically at any college, okay, because the head coach is in charge. But I think that there is an aura of mystery around Kelly, especially early in the season.
So you didn't believe him as much last year when he said, I'm turning over the keys. This unit has been so decrepit. It's Blake's job.
Well, but he has a tendency, like these press conferences are like, it's everybody's fault except his. And I don't appreciate that about him. I really don't appreciate Coach Kelly that much at all. And everybody thinks, everybody who's listening to this knows that's how I feel. But here's his problem this year. He's facing a damn good team. And he's facing a team that feels like it could get into the CFP without, Miami losing to Syracuse in the last week of the season. He's facing a team and a coach in Dabo Swinney who has not really been big on this transfer portal, and he's dead set on proving that you could do it the way that I do it and that we do it here. There's a lot on the line in this game as far as philosophical approach to college football in the NIL age. I think Clemson is much more fired up for this game than LSU will be. I think Clemson jumps on them early. LSU, comes back. They get their feet underneath them. They start to play better. But I think by the time they actually get there, it's a little bit too late. Clemson covers 3.5. Once again, I'm gonna shy away from that total points. Because I just don't know. It's weird. It's like I think it will be more offense than it will be defense. But maybe it's a tight game and Clemson scores late, and that's what pushes them, not only to cover the 3.5, but maybe into the lead.
And that's considerable. 57.5, that is a much larger total than we're seeing from any of the other games.
Exactly. That was the one that one reason I said 57.5, huh? And you know how you do the score in your head. You're thinking like 57.5, 30, man. They said if the score was 30-28, you'd cover by a half point.
57.5 is in 2019 again. Are we seeing Burrow and Lawrence?
Yeah, 30-28, right? No. So I guess they could get there. I'm just not comfortable on that one at all. So I'm not going to pick any points, but I got Clemson covering. Oh, yeah. And part of that is Kelly. Part of that is Clemson. But most of that is Kelly.
And that's funny because actually I am going full steam ahead with the points in this case. I'm saying 57.5. Why not make it 67.5, baby? That's right. Firepower on both sides because I'm with you. I see Clemson here. I envision Clemson as the 3.5-point favorite, and I think Dabo, Cade Klubnik, this entire offense is going to come out firing, and defensively as well. Clemson does have, in my estimation here, there's so much attention, and rightfully so, given to the offense. But when you're talking about some of the mainstays on the defensive side, an edge rusher such as TJ Parker, 11 sacks just one season ago, and Brian Kelly came out just a couple of days ago talking about, I really don't know what to make of this, Alvin. You were actually considering the notion a couple of days, allegedly, before your season opener, of rotating 2 to 3 additional offensive line reserves heading into this game. You want to do that in Death Valley? You want to do that at Memorial Stadium against Clemson? Good luck, because I don't care how great Garrett Nussmeier can be in this game, and I do think he's going to get his numbers in more ways than one. If you really are leaving that up to chance, so to speak, now some of that may just be the customary bluster. Okay, it may be a bit of a facade, but the points, the touchdowns, they're going to be rolling for me that evening.
It's not necessarily to even put that out there, because during the course of a game, you can use as many offensive linemen as you want.
I just don't get it.
All right, he's like, hey, my guys go take a breather. We got to see if you got to play. We got a first down at our own 33-yard line. We're going to run twice, pass once, and you're going to go out there and play some plays, to the second stringer on each side of the ball, on left guard, right guard, left tackle, right tackle. Right. I mean, why? That's football. Why you got to put it there? Like, oh, this is a mad scientist. He's going to rotate. He's really blah, blah, blah. Kids going to play. It's going to be hot. It's the first game of the year. People are going to play. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything other than I think he ran out of things to talk about during the press conference, so he threw that out there.
Does he ever, though? Does he ever? Keep extending it.
Keep extending it. Right.
Hey, I'm not sure if it will be the most aesthetically pleasing, if it will be the most well-played game of the weekend, but I do think it has a strong potential likelihood of being the most entertaining there. 6:30 p.m. Kickoff.
Oh, I mean, and night game, Death Valley. LSU is there. That place going to be just crazy.
That's right.
Right.
Atlanta itself is going to be pretty crazy throughout the duration of the weekend, because as we move along, we still have 2 games to preview here on the College Football Connection. 101 ESPN, the YouTube channel, as well as 101ESPN.com. We've got a 2-pack at Mercedes-Benz Stadium over the weekend. Alvin, we already talked about game number 1 featuring Tennessee and the Qs on Saturday for that matter. But 2 p.m. Sunday, 2 p.m. on the dot, you've got a very intriguing affair, in my opinion, between Virginia Tech and South Carolina. It is a family affair in so many different respects, because even though it's been a while since the elder statesman Frank Beamer has been at the helm of Virginia Tech, you think about South Carolina's current helmer in Shane Beamer. How many years he served on staff there with his father. He played for the university. The roots are strong. They're entrenched. But by the same token, the reason as to why he wanted to move out to Columbia, got that opportunity, got that chance, basically creating his own imprint, right? Trying to put a stamp on another SEC program. And the expectations are pretty massive for South Carolina entering this season for a lot of different reasons. Now, in this game, currently favored by 7.5. Say what you will, basically neutral side here. Over-under figure has moved from 49.5 all the way up to 52.5. And yet, for as many plaudits as Beamer earned a year ago, SEC Coach of the Year, 9 victories, elevating that career record in the other Columbia, if you will. Lenore Sellers did so much of that heavy lifting. Now he is circled on everybody's calendar, on everybody's list. Virginia Tech, after having been up and down, frankly, kind of seesawing, 7-6, 6-7, absolutely horrendous campaign 3 seasons ago, is in that murky middle. Okay, conference-wise, you're not exactly sure what to expect, but if you are to get up for a game and be able to put forth your best possible effort in week number 1, this setting against that program, there's a lot at stake here. Virginia Tech has a chance, at least, to make a huge impression.
Yeah, but there's another list that Sellers is on, and that's the Heisman Trophy possibility list.
Oh yeah, that.
And if you're gonna make a statement like I'm in this to win this, it's 2:00 Sunday in Mercedes Dome.
Yeah.
I mean, so look, all bets are off. Look, they want him to throw for 4 and run for 2. I'm serious. This is going to be like, hey, whatever we're going to do for the rest of the season is one thing. But what we do in this first game against Virginia Tech is showcase this kid and let him show the world what we saw. And I guess I don't know if that was a nationally televised game that Missouri was on, or we were kind of somewhat regional, or
eyeballs saw it.
Yeah, but we all saw it and said, like, man, can somebody tackle this dude, right? Right. And it was, I give them all the credit in the world, but it was kind of like, man, it looked like the playground game. He's hiking the ball to this dude. He's just like looking around, even throwing, or looking around and throwing. I just see a little bit of the same against Virginia Tech. Some of that line slide, you saw the kid from Virginia Tech got a DWI, and I guess he's going to play, but he'll have to be maybe benched for a half. And he's one of the team captains.
Team captain, linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take some action. Yeah, you also got to wonder why kid driving around drunk 5 days before the biggest game of the season. Granted, it's the first game of the season, but if I'm the coach, I do have to take some action, and granted, Georgia, they driving cars 900 miles an hour every other day down there, but you got to take some action. So he's got to miss some time in this game, one would think.
It's called a possession or two, Alvin.
Yeah.
Lenoris, we can't catch him. We don't have gap integrity. We can't stay in our lanes.
All right. You after the first series, just remember you're going to have to run a bunch of laps next week.
We're very, very bad.
Right.
Very bad.
Very bad. Very bad. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. No, go tackle him.
The campaign starts here. I think that's what we're saying.
The campaign starts here.
Also, another under-the-radar but important note as well for South Carolina. We understand, we are fully aware that it is the Lenoris Sellers show. But in that backfield, too, you kind of had a two-headed monster last season. Rocket Sanders, of course, trying to move on to the next level, too. He graduates. He's gone. But just ruled eligible a couple of days ago, a transfer as well in the backfield. So South Carolina trying to clearly sort out everything when it comes to its bread and butter. It is going to be moving up and down the field. I think this is almost comical that it isn't a double-digit advantage currently being enjoyed by South Carolina. And I'm looking at the points, too, 52.5, pretty high as well. South Carolina itself, I'm telling you, Alvin, could actually approach that 40-ish territory. I'm taking South Carolina to not only cover, but help really take that over-under figure and actually lay waste to it.
That we're on the same page on this one. We have no differences on this one.
Which is interesting because we've had a lot of...
Yeah, we have. I was going to say, I'm the same way on this, too. Mm-hmm. Because I just felt like, if anybody wants to beat Virginia Tech, I mean, we can all say what we want to, and the school didn't do him wrong. I know they had to use dynamite to get his daddy out of there when the time finally came, and you're on the staff, and I guess you can't be in the dad, just retire, kind of thing. Let's not go out like this. So I'm sure I wouldn't say it's bad blood with Virginia Tech, but heck, it probably didn't end the way that he wanted it.
Yeah, tenuous.
Yeah, for his dad, but I think he does want to put one on him and say hey. Now, you're South Carolina's head coach, and this is not hating on Virginia Tech, but you're already beyond Virginia Tech. So it isn't like your feelings are hurt that you're not the head coach of Virginia Tech. Oh, you know what I'm saying?
And your feelings as well. I don't think this is a look-ahead spot, but talking about the immediate future, too, for the Gamecocks, think about the back half of the schedule, just the back half of the schedule for SC, for Sellers in a would-be Heisman campaign here, trying to get into that conversation. LSU, A&M, Alabama, Ole Miss, Clemson. That's down the stretch. This has to be a gimme, and this has to be a stat-padding performance.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, Bradford. They need to ring it up. Like when week 1 is done and they start doing the Heisman, the odds, he should be at the top. He should be at the top after this game. We'll see.
Somebody else who has since moved on to another program, but we thought, Alvin, entering 2024 could definitely have had a Heisman case of his own. Carson Beck, though, his final year in Athens didn't exactly go according to plan. So Carson Beck heads down south to Miami. Miami, one of two teams here we will spotlight and feature in our final game of the weekend. A huge clash. If I have to hear the tagline, the mantra, the slogan, though, one more time, Alvin, of Catholics versus convicts, I probably am going to go through the roof here.
That.
However,
back in the day, Miami had more Catholic kids on their team than Notre Dame did.
You're right. What we have here this evening, though, Sunday evening, we should say, 6 o'clock, Hard Rock Stadium is going to be rocking because, if I'm not mistaken, the last two opportunities that these two programs, esteemed programs that got together, and most specifically the most recent instance back in 2017 at this very site. My goodness gracious, it was a thrashing in Miami. Hey, right now, Miami in this matchup, entering the matchup against last season's national runner-up in Notre Dame. 2.5-point underdog. But I'm looking, Alvin, as per usual, at the signal caller spot. I'm looking at Beck. I am looking for not necessarily redemption for the young man after a turnover-plagued 2024. But he most decisively has the edge in terms of experience here, game acumen, and game action over his counterpart on the other side. We don't have any worries about Marcus Freeman's program moving forward in 2025. I don't think we have any worries about the defensive side of the football either. Al Golden, yes, he goes to the Bengals trying to, in some way, turn around that moribund defense on the NFL side. But Marcus Freeman coach teams. He has displayed in short order that they are able to play much better down the stretch, progress rapidly as the season moves along. I'm not anticipating anything close to the disaster that was first couple of weeks last season for the Fighting Irish, which didn't ultimately amount to anything as we saw down the stretch. But this is an intriguing spot because you're going with the grandson of Lloyd Carr. It's C.J. Carr in his first collegiate action, and you are saying, this is your baton, young man. Riley Leonard, the show was over. He accomplished so much in the span of just 1 year. But I do think it is intriguing and enticing to think about Notre Dame for the first time in a while. For the first time, really, I would say, under Marcus Freeman, under his watch, has a chance to develop a quarterback, develop that part of the program for a couple of years, as opposed to basically going out and grabbing, snaring those mercenaries, which you had in Hartman and Leonard. But make no mistake about it, in South FLA, there will be some growing pains right off of the bat.
Well, and I think Notre Dame will rush the football 50 times against Miami.
You should try.
Until they either fall behind or just have zero success running the football, I think they'll try to just run Miami over. I think it took a lot of toughness to get through the season last year. You lose the Northern Illinois game after you win that tough game on the road down to Texas A&M, and then you don't lose again until the national championship game. Okay, and then you were playing by far the best team in the country, and you put up a fight after you fell behind. But I think Notre Dame at least reminded itself that it was more than just running out on the field, and that they are a tough football. They got a tough coach, and they're tough-minded. And I think this is why that they cover the 2.5, because I think they're just going to run the football. I think that the score will approach the over, but I think there will not be a lot of possessions in the game for Notre Dame, because I think Notre Dame will be having these 12 and 14 play drives and kind of take it out of Miami.
Yeah, when things get tough on the road, in particular, what do? You run the football and you take care of it accordingly, too. That's where I have the questions, though, about the freshmen at the helm.
About, that, and then flip-flop, if Miami plays at Notre Dame, how many points is Notre Dame favored by? A touchdown? 6 points?
6 or 7.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, Notre Dame is God bless Miami. I like them, matter of fact. I like the coach they got now. I like their program.
Maybe top 10 talent, roster-wise.
Right. But they got to build into it. And I think, their task of Notre Dame, I'm not 17-13, Miami leads at halftime. And the TikTok blowing up, and the fire Marcus Freeman, and I knew they wasn't no damn good, and blah, blah, blah. And then they just grind it out and take it to Miami in the second half.
It's not pretty, but they do it.
And they do it. And I see that kind of game. Okay. I really do. And by the way, just going back to that game you mentioned, the Notre Dame at Miami, that was the game where Chip Kelly said, I can't get to the national championship game with this talent I have at Notre Dame. Yeah. But all right. He keeps coming back to Kelly.
Enough said, right? That last name, we zero in on it time after time. I am curious about this one. I am not sold on an outright winner, to be frank, although let's have some fun with it. Let's once again go against the grain as far as mano a mano, my man here, because I believe that Carson Beck, in returning to school, he had his reasons. A lot of financially motivated ones.
They bought him to come down there.
But he has a little something here for Notre Dame, and I give all of the respect and the credit in the world to that defense, in whom, heck, do I place more trust when it comes to the sidelines? Well, certainly Freeman over Cristobal, who has a grand total of 1 win of substance against ranked teams in that setting, basically since his tenure began there at Miami. Call it a gut feeling on this one, and call it a matchup as well that is going to feature high-level defense for essentially the duration of that entire tilt. The over-under, 49.5 right now. I think they're actually well under that at the end of the evening. And again, just to have some fun with it here, to have a little bit of fun in the festivities, I will pick Miami plus 2.5 under on that figure as well.
I'm under also.
It's a nice Sunday slate, a nice Sunday 2-pack to set up the Monday Labor Day affair. We're not going to make this an official pick, Alvin, but we do have a couple of additional topics to get into before we close down shop on this edition of the College Football Connection. As always, we are here on the 101 ESPN YouTube channel and 101ESPN.com. Monday evening, though, belongs to the college realm, the now college realm of Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels going up against TCU. Will you be tuning in, first and foremost?
Oh, man, I'm going to try not to because I'm so sick of that whole thing down there. But I heard Sonny Dykes interview, and he was just basically saying that how much he respected the coach at North Carolina, and he remember he said remember 2 years ago we were supposed to beat that Colorado team, and they came in our place and beat us, and shucks and all that kind of stuff.
Billy has a quarterback now.
Yeah.
Just named his QB1.
Yep. Yeah. I like TCU in that game. I do.
By a lot. Comfortably.
Yes.
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
I don't think North Carolina's any good. A lot of hype.
Not even bowl eligible this season, huh?
Well, I mean, you might scratch away to 6 wins. I don't know, but yeah, I am still leaning more toward disaster than reclamation of program.
Sure. With
Bill Belichick, and I'm gonna lie to you, this whole girlfriend thing and all that, it's just creepy. It's weird to me, man. That's all I could say. So I think it plays out on the football field like something's wrong.
Yeah. I'll leave the publicist angle alone for right now and instead talk about something that actually I know it excited you a heck of a lot last weekend. And let me tell you as well, as somebody who fully expects to be in attendance next Saturday, Memorial Stadium. It's a 2:30 p.m. kickoff. There is no shame whatsoever in spinning it forward and getting our first look, if you will, at KU, Missouri, because last Saturday, Alvin, we had talked about that showcase opportunity. Basically, nobody else in action at that time, with the exception of UNLV having an exceedingly close call. Oh, my goodness gracious.
They were down. There was another one. I looked at some of that, and they were getting killed.
The stage, though, it belonged to KU. Yeah. And at the end of that 31-7 thrashing at home, renovated stadium, everybody was pumped. Big game on Fox. I was left with a couple of major impressions. Now, I wasn't surprised whatsoever that Jalen Daniels had his way, that he was able to do his thing not only through the air, but certainly creating plays, getting outside of the pocket. We know that when Jalen Daniels is healthy, he is more than capable of doing that against higher-level opponents, let alone a Fresno State. But the ground game looked darn good. I was wondering, okay, what am I going to see, for that matter, without Devin Neal now? What am I going to see from Williams, et cetera? And also, in the passing game, we'll get to the defense here in a minute, but Cam Pickett is a problem. Yeah, he plays bigger than his size, and I'm genuinely worried, or I'm suspicious about how Missouri's secondary is going to be able to not only handle Cam Pickett, but Henderson, from whom we didn't see a lot in that first game, but he is an outright burner from bound.
Two very, very, very exceptional acquisitions through the portal. Pickett ran away from some people on some swings out to the point, and it's you're just suddenly look, that was just a good football play. That kid from Fresno State was not in a bad position, was not in whatever. He just got to the corner before he did and took it all the way into the end zone. You can't teach those things. I like the way Daniels looked. He took too many hits, and it adds up over the course of a season. KU left some points out there. I will tell you this, that Kurt Warner's son, A.J. Warner, man, they cut through KU like a hot knife through butter on that first drive.
First half looked okay.
That first over-under was looking like, oh, man, this score is going to be 56-35 or something like that. But no, after that, KU's defense settled down. They got after them. They forced turnovers. One spectacular interception, and we'll see. All I took away from that game is that KU played a pretty solid all-around game, and Fresno State was not Lindenwood like last year, or a double 1A team, or they're a legitimate football team that will win some games. To win 31-7, I will accept that. This game against Wagner on Friday, I just don't even want them to just don't get anybody hurt. That's all. Right. If they don't cover or they don't do whatever, who cares? Kind of same with Missouri in their game.
The run defense was flat out spectacular. 37 yards per minute on 29 carries. One of the biggest impressions that was made on yours truly. What was your biggest takeaway, maybe a little under the radar, that you had not expected heading into the game? What unit or what positional group popped for you?
Well, I think the defensive line was able to get a little bit more pressure just from the interior. KU didn't really blitz that much.
No.
And I think that's always a good thing.
It's a very good
If you
sign.
could get to the quarterback without running a lot of exotic blitzes, then that obviously you could keep that extra guy back there in the defensive backfield. They didn't all get a lot of sacks on one, but they were always right there. And I'll give him credit. 4 times he barely beat the blitz over the middle, and they got first downs. And he took a shot, and receivers hung onto the ball. But man, they were that close to having to punt like 3 or 4 more times than they had to. So I'd give them credit. That's the one thing. If KU can get pressure on the quarterback, especially against Missouri, from the interior line, then that will help them. We'll have to see on the linebackers.
Yeah.
That's the linebacker corps is young, and they didn't make a lot of big hits and things like that. But what defense exactly was being run and what defense will be run, in a couple weeks, we'll see. But yeah, I liked that they were able to get after the quarterback without blitzing.
And the question becomes, after whom will KU be doing the pursuing when we reconvene for that Week 2 preview? Mizzou and Kansas. We know for a fact it's going to be Perbula for MU on Thursday night in half number 1. Horn allegedly getting number 2. Mizzou, Central Arkansas, Illinois, Western Illinois, Kansas, Wagner through Friday. And then you heard, ladies and gentlemen, the aforementioned 6-pack of games here on the College Football Connection. I know I'll be locked in bright and early Saturday morning. Alvin, Texas, OSU, and everybody else to follow. Can't wait for it. We are underway with everybody in action.
With everybody in action. One last thing. Of KU, Missouri, and Illinois, Illinois is favored by the most points. It's something like 45 points or some nonsense.
46 and a half.
Right. It basically, okay, we'll see. I would play where this is an unofficial. I'm playing Western in that one because how you gonna cover? Like if they score 2 touchdowns, that means that Illinois got to put up 55 points.
I don't know if Illinois gets that many possessions.
That's what I'm saying. Right? Yeah. Let's ring up 60. Come on. Yeah. All right. That one seems a little bit out of line on that one. Of all the things we got on here, that's an unofficial look. I was like, okay. That's a lot of points.
Just start it soundly. Handle your business in Champaign, and then moving forward, get ready for the gauntlet in Big Ten.
There you go. You're going to leave it out there in the field like, oh, yeah, we put 70 on. All right.
For what it's worth.
Yeah. For what it's worth. All right, man.
We love it. We appreciate it. Guys, as per usual, listening to us, consuming us, watching our product on the YouTube channel. And we wish everybody the best of luck as well. Obviously, with it ramping up, Alvin and I will be back in a matter of days here in Creve Coeur. We have matchups galore to preview and a lot of fun, as always, in store. Appreciate it, my man.
All right, absolutely. Happy Labor Day, everybody.
There you go. Have a great holiday weekend. Until next time, we will see you.
Thanks for listening to the College Football Connection podcast on 101 ESPN.